These animals were locked up, injured, or left for dead. But what happens the moment they realize the cage is gone is something you have to see. Every single day, animals get hurt, lost, or trapped because of fires, floods, illegal hunting, and plain bad luck. Some of them don't make it, but some of them do. And the moment they take their first steps back into the wild, that moment belongs to no one else. This video is full of those moments. Real ones. Some will make you laugh, some will hit you harder than you expect. Let's get into it. Here's something most people don't think about. When a wild animal gets rescued, taken in by humans, fed by humans, kept in a small space surrounded by cars and noise and strange smells, it changes them. Not forever, but for a while. A leopard doesn't care that you're trying to help. All it knows is that it's not free. And for a creature built to run, hunt, and roam across miles of open land, a cage is one of the worst things in the world. So when the day finally comes to let them go, it's not always as simple as just opening a door. Some animals bolt immediately, like they've been waiting every second for this. Others freeze. They stand at the edge of the cage, sniffing the air, not quite trusting what they're feeling. Because freedom, real freedom, after a long time trapped, it can actually be terrifying at first. One of the most striking releases in recent memory was a leopard coming out of quarantine in Africa. The handlers opened the crate. Nothing happened for a few seconds. Then slowly, this big, powerful cat crept forward, stopped, looked around, and then, just like that, disappeared into the trees. The people watching couldn't even speak. All you could hear was, "Oh my God," over and over. That's what it looks like when something ancient and wild remembers what it is. But not every story starts with a healthy animal. Some of them arrive barely alive. Take a 7-year-old mountain lion from California. She was caught in a wildfire, one of those massive, fast-moving fires that burn thousands of acres and leave nothing standing. She had burns on her paws, her face, her body. She couldn't walk properly. Rangers found her and didn't leave her side for weeks. Vets worked on her, and slowly, she got better. The day she walked back into the California wild was quiet. No big crowd, no ceremony, just a gate opening and a lion deciding on her own that it was time to go. Across the ocean in Cornwall, England, it was the total opposite. A crowd gathered on the coast. Locals, volunteers, kids, journalists, all there to watch 6 young seals make their way back into the water. These seals had been found malnourished, too weak to survive on their own. The rehabilitation center nursed them back to health, and on release day, they were so full of energy that one of them slipped and tumbled down the beach before hitting the water. Everyone laughed. The seal didn't seem to mind. There's a different kind of release happening in Yellowstone National Park in the United States. This one isn't about a single animal, it's about a whole species finding its way home again. Bison, the massive, shaggy animals that once moved across North America in the tens of millions, were nearly wiped out entirely, hunted almost to extinction in the 1800s. But over the last few decades, small groups have been brought back through careful conservation programs. At Yellowstone, the process involves multi-stage quarantine, health checks, and then, in a deeply meaningful step, the animals are handed over to the care of indigenous tribes at the Fort Peck Reservation. For Native American communities, bison aren't just animals. They're part of who they are. Their ancestors lived alongside these animals for thousands of years, depended on them for food, clothing, tools, and ceremony. Seeing bison return to their land isn't just an environmental win, it's a cultural one. It's something that was taken, coming back. On the other side of the world, on the island of Java in Indonesia, a very different kind of release is happening every season. On the beach at Sukamade, tiny green sea turtles, no bigger than the palm of your hand, crawl toward the Indian Ocean for the first time. These little things have no idea what's waiting for them. The ocean is massive and full of danger, but they've been moving toward it since they hatched, guiding by something ancient inside them. Right now, they're small. In a few decades, they could grow to 1.5 meters and travel thousands of miles across open ocean. Green sea turtles have been around for over 100 million years. They outlasted the dinosaurs, and now they're endangered, mainly because of illegal hunting and habitat destruction. The conservationists at Sukumare collect the eggs before poachers can get them, hatch them in safe incubators, and then release the babies onto the beach. Each tiny turtle that makes it to the water is one more chance that this species survives another 100 million years. Not far from Yellowstone, in the forests of southern Ohio, a young bobcat is taking his first steps into the wild. He was found as a tiny kitten, helpless, alone. Raised by wildlife experts who worked hard to make sure he never got too comfortable around humans. Because the goal isn't to make a pet, it's to make a wild animal. He pauses at the tree line, looks back once, then walks in and disappears. In Idaho, a group of wild horses are doing the same thing. They were evacuated during wildfires, kept safe while the land around them burned. But horses were not built for fences. Now the gates open and they run. Just run. Like something that had been held in them for months, finally releasing all at once. It's one of those things you watch and feel in your chest. Back in the forests of Namibia, a leopard with a completely different story is about to start a new chapter. A farmer had caught her after she kept attacking his livestock, a real conflict that happens all the time when wild predators and human farming territory overlap. Instead of killing her, the farmer called for help. Wildlife teams captured her, assessed her, and moved her to Waterberg National Park, a protected area where she can hunt freely and live without coming into conflict with people again. She hesitates at the entrance of the carrier. The handlers urge her. And then she goes, fast, into the bush. Gone. Then there's the animals that genuinely don't want to leave. An alligator in the American South got himself stuck in a water pumping station. When the team came to remove him, he was apparently in no rush to go anywhere. He just sat there, looking almost comfortable with the whole situation, while the crew tried to encourage him to move. In the end, they got him out and released him into more appropriate water. But for a few minutes, it was the alligator who was in charge. A young alligator in Mississippi showed up in a hotel parking lot, probably displaced by drought, looking for water. Wildlife experts captured him safely and took him somewhere he belonged. He waited 3 weeks in a rehabilitation enclosure before release day came. In Southern California, a sea lion was found close to death from disease. Treated, nursed back, and eventually released back onto the beach with so much energy you'd never know anything was wrong. Another sea lion, nicknamed Uncle Milt, got tangled in fishing line and was rescued by volunteers. A few days after treatment, he was back in the ocean where he belonged. Over in South Africa, in a town called Plettenberg Bay, the African penguin release has become something of a local celebration. These are the only penguins in the world that live in Africa, and remarkably, they can handle heat up to 30 degrees or more. But their population has dropped sharply due to overfishing and ocean pollution, meaning they need more help than ever. When weakened penguins are brought to rehab centers and recovered, releasing them back into the ocean draws crowds. People cheer, kids wave, and the penguins just walk right past everyone into the waves. In Argentina, a female Andean condor was found injured on the ground. Condors are some of the biggest flying birds on Earth. Massive wingspan, powerful, built to soar over the Andes. She was named Jampaku, a word from the Quechua language that means medicinal water. After months of care, her release day came. When she finally opened those wings and caught the air currents above the mountains, the people below applauded. Not as a formality, as a real, genuine response to something that moved them. In Great Britain, red deer are slowly coming back. They disappeared from many of England's forests during the 20th century. Hunted, displaced, forgotten. Now, special reintroduction programs are bringing them back into places they haven't been seen in generations. It's quiet, patient work, but it matters. And across the world, birds that were headed for pet stores, parakeets and other species caught illegally from the wild, are being intercepted and released. Watch a cage of birds get opened and see what happens. They don't wait. They don't look back. They go. Here's what keeps coming back to me after watching all of these. When experts talk about wildlife rehabilitation, they always say the same thing. Saving the animal isn't enough. You have to save their wildness. You have to make sure that when they go back, they still know how to be what they are. That takes time. It takes patience. And it takes people who genuinely care. Not for recognition, not for money, but because they believe these animals belong in the world. There's a moment in almost every release where everything gets quiet. The handler steps back, the animal pauses, and then, for the first time in a long time, it makes its own decision about where to go. That pause, that moment of the animal realizing it's free, that's what this is all about. From leopards in Africa to baby sea turtles in Indonesia, from bison returning to indigenous lands in Yellowstone to a little bobcat disappearing into Ohio forests, from penguins waddling into the South African Ocean to a condor catching wind over the Andes. Every one of these animals had a story that could have ended badly, and it didn't. Because somewhere along the way, a person decided to show up. A ranger, a vet, a volunteer, someone who stopped and said, this animal deserves a chance. And that choice, it changed everything. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.